The House of Windsor, fortified by tradition, gilded in history, and perpetually simmering with intrigue. We think we know them, these figures who grace magazine covers and headline news, but behind the palace walls, a battle for the very soul of the monarchy was brewing. A silent war waged with whispers, betrayals, and a calculated ruthlessness that would make Machiavelli blush. And at the heart of it all, a queen's desperate gamble and a prince forced to choose between duty and survival. The stage was set for William. The weight of expectation, the legacy of his grandmother, the future of the crown, it all rested on his young shoulders. He was to address the nation, a pivotal moment designed to solidify his position as heir apparent. Every camera lens, every hopeful gaze from the assembled crowds was focused on him. It was supposed to be a coronation of sorts, a symbolic passing of the torch. But fate, or rather, a carefully orchestrated scheme, had other plans. Just hours before the ceremony, a bombshell dropped. Queen Camilla, the woman who had navigated scandal and public disapproval to finally claim her place beside King Charles, was suddenly indisposed. A severe chest infection, the official statement declared, requiring complete isolation. The public, ever sympathetic, was immediately awash in concern. Get well soon messages flooded social media alongside nostalgic photos of Camilla's journey. The press naturally amplified the narrative of a beloved queen struck down by illness at a crucial moment. But behind the carefully crafted press releases and the outpouring of public sympathy, Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, sensed something amiss. A woman of unwavering loyalty, sharp intellect, and a reputation for seeing through deception, Anne possessed a keen eye for detail. The official story simply didn't add up. The medical reports were vague, inconsistent, and conspicuously lacked the signature of the chief medical advisor. It was a forgery, plain and simple. Anne's suspicion wasn't born from malice, but from a deep-seated commitment to the crown and a fierce protectiveness of her nephew William. She knew the vultures were always circling, ready to exploit any perceived weakness, and Camilla's sudden withdrawal, cloaked in a veil of sorrow, felt less like a misfortune and more like a calculated maneuver. Her instincts were confirmed by a chance encounter, a hushed conversation overheard in a dimly lit alcove. One of Camilla's most trusted aides, his voice laced with a poisonous triumph, whispered, "Everything's ready. He won't have the face to stand before them again." He could only be William. The pieces began to fall into place. Camilla wasn't sick. She was setting a trap. But what was the nature of this trap? And how could Anne, with her limited resources and the need for absolute discretion, protect William and the monarchy from a potentially devastating blow? She knew she had to act swiftly, silently, and with unwavering resolve. The fate of the crown depended on it. This wasn't simply palace intrigue. This was a battle for the very survival of the Windsor dynasty. And Anne, the steadfast sentinel, was ready to fight. Anne moved with the efficiency of a seasoned intelligence operative. No time for elaborate explanations or cautious approaches. She found William in his study, hunched over drafts of his speech, the weight of the world visibly etched onto his young face. Courtesies were dispensed with. "There's a plot," she stated, her voice low and urgent. "Camilla isn't ill. It's a deception." She laid out her findings, the falsified medical reports, the overheard conversation, the chilling implication that William was about to walk into a carefully laid ambush. William, initially skeptical, listened intently as the pieces fell into place. Doubt warred with disbelief, but Anne's unwavering conviction and the undeniable evidence in her possession forced him to confront the unthinkable. His stepmother, the queen, was actively working against him. The realization hit him hard, a cold wave of betrayal washing over him. This wasn't just palace intrigue, it was an act of war, and the stakes were impossibly high. His reputation, his future, the stability of the monarchy itself. He couldn't afford to be naive, to dismiss this as a misunderstanding. He had to act, and he had to act decisively. Gone was the weary prince. In his place stood a leader, his eyes hardened with resolve. He understood that he was facing an enemy who was cunning, ruthless, and intimately familiar with the inner workings of the palace. He needed to gather his allies, shore up his defenses, and uncover the full extent of Camilla's plot. His first move was to alert the royal guard, issuing discreet orders to triple security around the ceremonial platform. He couched it as a routine precaution, a final sweep before the international broadcast, but the subtext was clear: trust no one. Every microphone, every cable, every potential point of sabotage had to be meticulously inspected. Simultaneously, he summoned the Earl of Ashworth, a seasoned counselor who had served the crown for decades. A man of unwavering loyalty and impeccable discretion, Ashworth was the perfect confidant. William laid out the situation, presenting him with the falsified medical records and tasking him with a delicate and dangerous mission: investigate Camilla's movements during her alleged confinement. Who had she met? What secret arrangements had been made? Ashworth, understanding the gravity of the situation, accepted the charge without hesitation. While these covert operations unfolded within the palace walls, a different kind of assault was brewing in the outside world. Before dawn broke, the tabloid newspapers hit the stands, their front pages screaming with accusations against William. He was portrayed as weak, unprepared, and unfit to lead. Camilla's absence, they claimed, had exposed his frailty, his inability to rise to the occasion. It was a coordinated smear campaign, a calculated attempt to undermine his credibility and erode public confidence. Every headline, every photograph, every carefully chosen word was designed to paint him as an unworthy heir. The people's sympathy for Camilla was being weaponized, twisted into doubt and suspicion directed at William. He read the headlines with a chilling calm. This wasn't random chance, it was a carefully orchestrated attack, funded and timed to perfection. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Camilla's feigned illness, her aide's ominous whisper, and now this media blitz. It was all part of the same plan, a multi-pronged assault designed to destroy him. He knew then that he had to fight back, not just for himself, but for the future of the crown. Camilla, meanwhile, was far from idle, secreted away in her private chambers. The illness was a charade, a stage prop in her grand production. From her gilded cage, she orchestrated the unfolding drama, pulling strings and manipulating events with the precision of a seasoned puppeteer. Her objective? Not merely to embarrass William, but to utterly destroy his credibility, to make him so unfit in the public eye that his claim to the throne would crumble. Her secret weapon was a forged audio recording. She had commissioned expert sound engineers, outsiders brought in under the cloak of absolute secrecy, to create a perfect imitation of William's voice. The content? Blasphemous jabs at royal tradition, contemptuous remarks about the very people he was supposed to serve. It was a calculated act of treason, designed to shatter his image and ignite public outrage. The deployment of this sonic bomb was entrusted to her most loyal retainer, the same one whose whispered words had alerted Anne to the conspiracy. His mission was chillingly simple. During the ceremony, at the precise moment William began his oath or delivered his keynote address, the forged recording would be injected into the main sound system. It would detonate in real time, transforming William from a prince into a national laughingstock. But Anne, ever vigilant, was on the hunt. Strength and security wasn't enough. She needed concrete proof, something that would expose Camilla's scheme and protect William from the impending disaster. She moved like a shadow, observing, tracking, piecing together the puzzle. Her patience paid off. The night before the ceremony, she spotted the retainer making a furtive detour backstage. He avoided the main corridors, slipping instead into a narrow maintenance passage, a small metallic object concealed beneath his vest. His face was tight, his eyes darting nervously, betraying his guilt. Anne followed at a distance, watching as he stopped near the central control hub for the audio systems. With a swift, almost imperceptible movement, he brushed his hand against the backup microphone panel. Then he vanished back into the shadows. Anne moved quickly, summoning a trusted security officer, one who had proven his loyalty to William. Together, they examined the panel. At first glance, everything seemed normal, but Anne's trained eye detected a subtle anomaly, a compact alien connector embedded within the cluster of audio cables. It blended seamlessly with the existing equipment, but its placement was a dead giveaway. It was a hijack device designed to intercept or overwrite the live feed. She reported her discovery to William, who listened in grim silence. The pieces were now fully assembled. Camilla's plan was no longer a suspicion. It was an imminent threat, wired directly into the stage where he was about to stand. Anne urged caution. Delay the ceremony, relocate, suspend the proceedings altogether. But William, his eyes blazing with defiance, refused to back down. Retreat would be an admission of weakness, a validation of the narrative Camilla was so desperately trying to construct. He would not hide. He would face the ambush head-on. The ceremony would proceed as planned. He would stand beneath the chandeliers and expose the deceit for all the world to see. It was a dangerous gamble, but he saw no other choice. If Camilla wanted to destroy him in broad daylight, she would find herself consumed by the very flames she had ignited. The coming dawn would bring either his ruin or his vindication. The die was cast. Outside, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Thousands had gathered, their eyes fixed on the palace, where history was about to be made, or broken. Despite the whispers of doubt swirling in the air, allegiance and hope still held sway. Studio lights blazed, turning the stage into a beacon beneath the gray morning sky. William ascended the steps, his tall frame instantly commanding attention. He wore the ceremonial regalia, a heavy cloak that concealed his inner turmoil. The easy charm that had once defined him was gone, replaced by a guarded coolness. He knew this wasn't just a stage. It was a battlefield, laced with hidden dangers. Every movement, every nod to the assembled dignitaries was measured, controlled. This was no ordinary speech. It was an act of survival. In his mind, he could almost hear the counterfeit recording erupting like a thunderclap, envisioning the chaos it would unleash. But instead of fear, the vision steeled him. He would stand unshaken, no matter the attack. Deep below the Grand Hall, Anne stood guard in the palace's technical control chamber. She had traded her formal silks for muted attire, clothing suited for stealth. Her gaze was fixed on the monitors that tracked the live audio feed. Before the ceremony, she had briefed a trusted technician, one of William's loyalists, on the danger lurking in the sound system. His duty was critical. The instant she gave the signal, he was to sever the feed. Timing was everything. Too early and it would appear as a malfunction. Too late and the trap would spring. The moment William's hand touched the lectern, Anne's screen pulsed with an unnatural red blink. It wasn't a standard indicator. It was the signal from Camilla's planted device. The attack had begun. With a sharp nod, Anne triggered the technician's move. His palm slammed down on the emergency cutoff. A near-silent pause rippled through the hall. The forged audio was suffocated before it could emerge. The main system emitted only a faint mechanical click, lost beneath the crowd's soft murmurs and the restless wind. On the dais, William felt the subtle glitch. He knew at once what had transpired. Camilla had made her play, and Anne had thwarted it. Without a flicker of hesitation, he continued, his voice resonant, his tone commanding, projecting certainty to every corner of the hall, to the world. Nothing seemed amiss, but the conspiracy was not yet over. Behind the scenes, in the dim backstage corridors, the Queen's retainer realized the signal had failed. Panic seized him. He darted toward the technical wing, intent on destroying the evidence, the device that could expose the entire operation. But the guards, already stationed by William's orders, had sealed every exit. Desperation drove him into a dead end, the incriminating box still clutched in his hand. He was subdued, swiftly and unseen by any camera. A moment later, a calm voice broke through William's concealed earpiece. Target secured. William finished his speech flawlessly. He spoke of unity, endurance, and the unbroken bond between crown and people. His words rang with sincerity, dispelling the remnants of rumor that had darkened the realm. When he concluded, the crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Their faith in him had been reforged, stronger than before. Yet beneath the polished surface, a fire burned fierce within him. The danger had passed, but his purpose had transformed. William now carried proof of betrayal and the will to wield it. The game was no longer about defense. The next move would be his, and it would strike directly at Queen Camilla. The reckoning had begun.